What's up, everybody? Welcome and happy Tuesday to you. This is episode 132 of the Bark and Brown Show. I'm Jacob. That's Nick. Down below, Mr. Casey Kinnaman. We're brought to you, as always, by our friends over at Homage Apparel. I do got the stiff arm, Brownie the Elf. We got the Joe Thomas. We're rocking it out. Check out our friends at Homage Apparel. Down in the link, there's a link down in the description down below. Go check that out. Wow. And get yourself decked out for the rest of the season. Gentlemen, how are we doing this fine Tuesday evening?
Yeah, I missed you guys. You know, you carried the load for me with the old flu last week, which I do not recommend to anyone. But so thank you both for doing that. It's good to be back. You know what? It seems like on one hand you have victory, and on the other hand you have the new IR report, and that's just kind of what we've been doing this season. So I'm happy. I'm sad. Here we are.
Feel great, man. Sitting in the driver's seat, looking at all these other teams fighting for scraps at 7-6 and like a 6-way log jam, knowing you have more wins in the AFC than any other team. So any of those tiebreakers, if they come down to it, you take that. So you know it's got me feeling pretty good today.
Second best record against winning teams in the NFL belongs to the Browns. So if we're wanting to talk about that.
If the playoffs started today, you got wins against 4 teams already in the AFC playoffs, and you have a win against each of the top seeds in both the conferences.
Just the only team that has a win against each of the top seeds in both conferences.
Would you look at that?
But Kevin Stefanski can't coach. Anyway.
They better fire him. I don't know what's going on.
Get rid of his bum ass. Yeah, so I did just recently complete. We'll go over this. We'll start with the offense. We'll go to the defense, and I think that the overarching theme of this show and something to focus on is just what do we where do we think this team could go? What is it capable of going? Not where it will go, where we think it'll go, but how far could they go? Like, what is the the ceiling? What's the ceiling for them? Where is it at? All of those good information. So we'll start with the quarterback position. We'll start with Joe Flacco. Talk about Handsome Joe a little bit. And we'll go around and I'll start. We'll go to Nick and down to Casey, just kind of now having some time to have digested it. I just finished the All 22 like 30 minutes ago, an hour ago, something like that. So it's very fresh in my brain. We have literally asked for exactly what he has been all year. And that is just a game manager that at times can elevate those around him. And we have seen it now for him in 2 games. I mean, he's got 56% completion percentage. We're not like sitting up here and telling you he's an elite best quarterback in all of football out there, or anything crazy like that. It's, Casey, to steal your line, layups are layups with Joe Flacco, and we have not seen layups be like layups with quarterbacks in Cleveland this year. And when a defense gives him something underneath, he'll take it underneath. He'll throw it. He'll throw those quick hitting swing passes to his running backs. He'll dump it off to David Bell, who then, if his, coverage, the corner that was covering him falls down, David Bell will take it into the end zone, things like that. Like he makes good decisions. Sometimes he locks onto his wide receivers a little bit too much, because I saw a few situations where I was like, hey, that guy over there was wide open. But he gets through his progressions. If he's protected, he will go through his progressions, which we didn't see much of that especially with PJ Walker, where PJ Walker was going to throw it to who he was going to throw it to. And then if he started scrambling, he might see somebody else. You see, if you protect Joe Flacco, that guy, you can see why Joe Flacco was a Super Bowl MVP if you watch this game. Like, I think he's exactly what the doctor ordered. He is the type of quarterback that Kevin Stefanski thrives with. I feel like he's getting better. I felt like he took strides forward in this game. We can't stop talking about him at this point. We can't stop talking about him.
Fever, baby.
Buddy, he's so easy to root for. So easy to root for. You go and watch, and I wrote this up on Browns Wire. There was this video that had been clipped of his post-game presser, but also of the speech that everybody has now seen, but in the locker room talking about, I'm happy that you guys thankful that you guys have me here. You know, I feel like a 10-year-old. He's talking about how his kids are now old enough to understand what's going on. They can appreciate what their dad's doing, all those things. He's an A-class human being, it seems, which is really refreshing around here at the position. I'm not making accusations. I'm just saying what it's been. I really thought that Joe Flacco was – so I had to do it, you know. He can be really good, and sometimes he makes some boneheaded plays, but overall, I think he's a middle-of-the-run quarterback who is perfect for what the Browns need, and I think the offense will only get better. I mean, 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, we haven't seen that this year except for Joe Flacco 3 weeks after signing with the team.
I am much more rosy in my estimation of Joe Flacco. He was one of just a handful of quarterbacks. Like, okay, let's start here. Quarterbacks are dropping like flies across the NFL. The overall quarterback play is in the dumpster this year, and through no real fault. You can't help the injuries. We just lost Justin Herbert in another long line of great quarterbacks that have gone down this year. No quarterbacks in the NFL threw more touchdown passes than Joe did yesterday, which was 3. And on top of that, I think just 3 quarterbacks threw more yards than he did. And I'm so impressed with Joe Flacco because when we initially talked about him, we said, well, you don't want him to come in here and throw 40 times. Well, the Browns' run game is not working. They are not having a great time. I think Jerome Ford finished with like 80 yards yesterday, which felt like more than it looked, honestly. They're not having any success there overall. And the Jaguars really boxed them up. The whole offense right now is on Joe Flacco. And he has jumped off of his couch and he is carrying them. Because I think there were multiple times in this game where I said to myself, like, the Browns cannot run the ball. I have no idea how they're going to close this game out if they don't get first downs through the air. And sure enough, Joe Flacco is able to get them those first downs through the air. I don't think in any realistic, reasonable scenario you can ask a 38-year-old to come off the couch and throw like 45 times per game. And here Joe Flacco is doing it anyway. This is like my best, most pie in the sky version that you could have gotten of Joe Flacco because he honestly is carrying the offense. And I can't speak enough about him. Where you come out on this, Casey?
So many places. So when we talk about the layups, well, that's good because Stefanski will give you some easy reads.
Yep.
He's always done that to quarterbacks, especially early in games to get you in rhythm. And some quarterbacks would kind of fight it. Joe does not. Dude, close your eyes and think of the 3 touchdowns. Those dudes was wide the fuck open. All 3.
Quota.
Boom. And you made a good point just now. This is a better version than I anticipated getting of Joe Flacco. But like the thing that makes me the happiest, the thing that I think that like is the most promising overall, because we see the arm talent, the ball looks pretty, all that. The experience this man is bringing to this team. That was his 100th career win as a starter on Sunday.
Wow.
Those 100 wins, man. So, but that's like we think of all of them against us. Of course, he was like 19-3, whatever. Dude, that's a win against a Peyton Manning-led Broncos team that nobody could beat. They almost gave him the Super Bowl. No, that guy beat him. That's a win against Bill and Brady in Foxborough in the playoffs. That dude did that. You know what I mean? Like that dude was Super Bowl MVP. So when that dude stands in a huddle and he's rallying the troops, getting ready to go on a big drive, the guys all looking back at that guy, they believe that it can happen because that dude has done that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that keep this on the rails. You got a guy who can do that just with the belief that the team has in him. That when they go to do something, they believe they're going to accomplish it because they have a steady hand, a professional quarterback who has more than a tank than I gave him credit for when he arrived. Now, I want to caution everybody. He's 38 years old, and it's only 2 games.
Yep.
Hopefully, he can keep this thing up. I think the big thing is get the ball out of his hands early, keep him standing, avoid taking unnecessary hits, which that was every quarterback. That's not something that's special to Joe Flacco, but it's probably more of an emphasis when you have a quarterback who we can't afford another one, damn it.
No.
Do what you got to do. You're playing with your fourth and fifth string tackles. That's going to hamstring your game plan a good bit. But I'm excited to see where this is going because we see it growing. It's only going to get better as he gets more reps, as these wide receivers and them get more comfortable with each other, and he understands what the proper depth is and how some guys like to break off routes, and that all comes with time. That all comes with repetition. And I think we're going to see another level of it this week because you're playing a Bears team that you can exploit through the air. And they're tough against the run. They're top 5. So this is going to be another air-heavy game. This is going to be another probably close to 40 throws for Joe, right?
Yeah,
build
probably
on it, man. This is a week to build on it. I feel good about where it's headed.
I want to ask you both because I get, Jacob, I get to your point about, I'm not saying Joe Flacco's elite, but when you look around the NFL and like this is a small sample size, but the quarterback play based on last week, would you say there were other quarterbacks that were so significantly better than what Joe Flacco's giving the Browns right now that you wouldn't give them a chance in that game?
No, not necessarily. Like, that's my thing is, like, I'm not saying that there's – what I'm getting at is, like, 56% completion percentage through 2 games. It's not good no matter how you slice that. Like you can't say, like, oh, my gosh, this is really, really lighting it up when you're not completing passes at a really high clip. But that doesn't mean he doesn't rank up there with the guys that are currently playing. Like, the guys that are currently playing. Like, I don't even know this dude, Easton Stick. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's a real person.
That's him.
That's a person.
Yep.
And no offense to Mr. Stick. I actually hope he tears it up because that's a phenomenal name. I hope he goes out there and just balls the F out. I swear to God.
Taking a swing in the dark. Is he from South Dakota State?
Let's find out. Yeah, Nick, you go ahead and find out.
I got it.
So what I wanted to say real quick, like, I get what you're saying, Nick. I'm with you on that. Like, and we're getting there. Like, we're building up to, like, how far can this team go? We're building up to that. We're talking about those sort of things. I will say, by the way, this Nick Chubb jersey that is framed back here is not. It was not professionally done. It was very hastily done by me. It will get fixed. It will get fixed. I will get that fixed. And when Joe Flacco wins a playoff game, I will have a framed Joe Flacco jersey on the wall.
Casey, you were so close. It's North Dakota State.
North Dakota State.
North Dakota
Directional Dakota. Directional Dakota.
It's one of those directional Dakotas. That's where
I had a 50-50 shot. I missed. Sorry.
It did.
I'll shoot again next time.
The dark is afraid of Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
Don't make me start the memes.
Please start them.
Don't make me start the memes.
Like,
yeah,
that's someone in the chamber.
Points out here, just we finally see the offense getting easy ones. Yeah. They're out there. They're getting the easy ones. They're getting the ones they should get.
Joe's the first guy that, we've been saying for a long time that Stefanski makes a lot of easy opportunities for quarterbacks. Yeah. And Joe is the guy I feel like Jacoby Brissett would take them, but maybe he didn't always have the arm talent to do so. I feel like Joe just has it. And the way he can sling it down I feel like Kevin Stefanski, like we've been talking, and even this year, we're talking about the lid not being off the offense and just not having that vertical real threat. And it's like, I think that's why the city has Flacco fever, because it looks like the numbers it looks better. You're seeing the ball go down the field and you're like, wow, there's a lot of verticality here that we have just not seen until Joe.
One thing that Flacco has done well that I really, and this is like vintage Flacco, like this is the stuff I can remember him doing with the Ravens and stuff, is he really puts his guys in positions to be able to go make a play. He gives them that opportunity to be like, hey, go make a play. Like, he's not going to throw it. Like, he throws high from time to time and wide from time to time. And a lot of that has to do with he has a howitzer for a right arm. And you're going to see that with him. And he's not as accurate as he once was and things like that. You're seeing his age when it comes there. But he can throw the 50-50 ball, and he will give him, Elijah Moore's butt cheek catch. He threw it up there. He threw it up there for him to go get it. he's thrown a couple up for Amari Cooper that Amari Cooper has gone up and gotten it. You know what I mean? Like, he at least gives you that chance to go get some plays in situations where it's like, hey, it's 3rd and a mile, like throw it deep and throw it up. If it gets picked off, whatever, or it's incomplete, or you catch it, or it's a pass. Like, you give yourself opportunities for it to be successful just by giving them an opportunity. And I think that's what Flacco does best. He's letting these wide receivers and tight. He loves David Njoku. Like, and I love David Njoku, so I'm not going to argue with that in any way, shape, or form. But like, if you watch the game and there was, some situations where it didn't quite work out, like David Njoku had 91 yards. By my tally, he should have had about 130 if a couple of passes were just a little bit better from Flacco. And he let one screen go to the ground, which was smart because it didn't develop at all. But like, if it had developed and he had taken that and some things like that, he could have had well over 100 yards in some of those opportunities. But it's like, he gets it. David Njoku, mismatch problem. Amari Cooper, where he's supposed to be, when he's supposed to be, probably open. Elijah Moore can get a little vertical, and he can also attack on those backside digs. He threw a backside dig to freaking Elijah Moore in that first half. That was just he threw it as 2 defenders were converging on him, and just right there, just rifled it. If you watch the back end zone on the all-22 of that play, he throws it before Elijah Moore makes his cut, and he just rips that son of a bitch right in there. And it's just like, none of these other guys had that. And the point is, when this defense plays the way they play, and now we're starting to get into it, and we can go and talk about this, I think, as I'll pass it around to you guys. But like, if the defense plays at a high level, and I think the score was a little misleading about how the defense did because of some turnovers and a garbage touchdown there at the end. I don't know a team that they can't beat. I'm not saying they'll win the Super Bowl. That's not what I'm saying by any stretch. This team can win a playoff game minimum in my head. That's where I'm at. And depending on which defense shows up, matchups, all this crap, they could make noise in the postseason, because there's not a team, to me, that is unbeatable in the NFL right now, and they have the tools to do it.
Yeah, I think you look around the AFC right now, and even last night, Miami, not only did Miami lose, but Tyreek Hill got banged up. They just lost another lineman. I feel like there's a real war of attrition going on in the NFL right now. Like, Baltimore just had Kyle Hamilton's week to week with I think a sprained MCL, and they are fresh off losing Mark Andrews. It's like, you're looking around at all these AFC teams, and Kansas City just had a meltdown. And I just say to myself, I'm like, well, why can't the Browns why can't the Browns compete with these teams? Like, I know the Browns have lost a lot of players, but you've already beaten Baltimore. You just beat Jacksonville, right? Who right now, if the playoffs started, that's where you'd go. And I don't have, now I know the Browns have been bad on the road, but I have a feeling Cleveland fans would take over Jacksonville Stadium if that was the playoff game. I just think you look around the AFC, and there's a lot of other teams getting hurt by injuries too. And just with the way, I feel like this is just scratching the surface of what the Browns can be offensively. I know you both have alluded to that. And if they can figure out how to start running the game, maybe teams are going to start respecting Joe Flacco a little bit more, selling out a little less to stop the run, and the Browns can get a little more balanced. If the Browns can get balanced on offense, I think they're as potent right now offensively as any of the I got to give Miami their flowers, but outside of that, any of the AFC teams.
Okay. For me, it comes down to the defense, because I think the offense is going to improve week over week to finish this thing out. I see them getting better on that side of the ball. The defense worries me in a playoff game, just because you're probably going to play on the road. Now, here in a little bit, we'll talk about a scenario where that's not the case. But they allow more points on the road than any team in the league, and they give up less points than any team in the league at home. It's a clear Jekyll and Hyde. It's like, I don't know what it is. I don't know how they can, you got to figure that shit out, because it's the same cast of characters, same guy calling the D, but at home, that's a different unit. At home, it's a bad day for a quarterback facing that unit. On the road, for whatever reason, they're just not the same group.
Yeah.
Now you wouldn't think in the playoffs they'll bring it, but I don't think that's something you just turn on and turn off. You know what I mean? So that's where that to me, that determines your ceiling. Because if that defense comes to play the way that they can at home on the road, there's not a team in the league they can't beat. That's evidenced by the teams that they have beat. That you see the quality of wins that this team has. So that's what it falls to. And I don't know, when it comes to, if you could pinpoint one thing and say that's why they're not as good on the road as they are at home on defense, point it to me, show me, because I do not know. For the life of me, I can't figure it out. And that is the missing equation. Okay. They figure out how to take that defense, because that's the old adage, right? Defense travels. Not the Browns. For whatever reason, they don't bring that same energy, that same juice doesn't go on the road with them. And I don't know if it's because if there was more Browns fans than LA fans, just, you know what I mean, against the Rams, and they were still flat. And that's what it comes down to. They look flat on the road. At home, those boys are juiced up and they're ready to go. So that's what determines their ceiling. But just saying, the Browns are going to be favored in 3 of their final 4 games, and maybe all 4 if Stroud can go.
Right. So
let's live in that world for a minute. Just come with me on this journey. Okay. Say they win out.
All right.
If Baltimore and Miami each lose 2 games and they play each other, so that's 1. And then Baltimore has at Jacksonville, at Miami, home to San Francisco, and finish with the Steelers. Miami's schedule is just slightly easier, but when I say slightly, I mean slightly.
Okay.
Kansas City loses 1 game. You don't just win your division. You get the number 1 seed. That's how close this is. If Baltimore and Miami lose 2, Kansas City lose 1, you win out. 12-5, hosting a ton of playoff games. And with that defense at home, I feel a little different.
That is a scenario that you feel a lot different, I think, about. It's hilarious because a friend of the show, Andrew Spade over at the OBR, has been a champion driving force of the number 1 seed situation.
Still there.
Yeah, he sent me a message. We were talking a little bit on Sunday after the game, and me and him, the last time I had talked to him, I had to do with Watson going down and stuff, and we were talking, and I was just like, I don't know, man. I don't really know where you can go without your quarterback. And he's like, you're not going anywhere. And then he randomly came back and sent me another message. He goes, well, turns out you can go pretty damn far. And I was like, yeah, look at here we are, And he's like, I said, man, I think they can win a playoff game. That's where I'm at. I'm like, I think they can go win a playoff game. That's where I'm at right now. And that's probably where I'll stay for now. We'll see if the defense travels to Houston. That'll be a big deal for me to see go down to Houston, what they do in there. If you're looking for what takes me from win a playoff game to being able to compete for a trip to the Super Bowl, that's what it's going to be. It's, as you've said, the defense doesn't travel. I mean, going into this week, they allowed 10 points at home and 30 on the road. It's at a ridiculous clip. It's you don't see a differential like that in the NFL today. So it's a really weird thing. But yeah, man, it's plausible. You're looking at this, Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence was healthier than I thought he was going to be, but he was not comfortable at all. They what was it? Was it 24? I think was the final tally. They had 24 quarterback pressures in this game or something like that. 24 and 4 sacks or something like that. I'll look it up here in a second.
Coming from where they were against the Rams, that's such a that's an insane. They couldn't even breathe on Matt Stafford. It felt like.
Yeah.
And I'll say this: Trevor Lawrence was getting the ball out really quick too. Not as quick as Matt Stafford, as evidenced by the pressure numbers, But I also think the Browns defensive backs played better, and that had something to do with it as well. 28. They had 28 quarterback pressures, including 7 from Myles Garrett, who did not get home. Myles did not get home, but he had 7 quarterback pressures. Dalvin Tomlinson had 4.
He was robbed. Casey, he was robbed on that 2-point conversion. Robbed.
When I realized it didn't count, I was pissed. I was so
I said
pissed.
it then, I'll say it now. That was a sack in my heart, and that's all that matters. Miles, you got your sack in my mind. I got you at 14.5, baby. I got you, Miles.
Hey, I'm not arguing with it. It frustrates me. Just like you know, I don't know.
Well, I have a question with the rules. Does anyone know this? So what if because you can score on a 2-point conversion. If you pick it off and take it back for a touchdown, you get 2 points. Do they give you an interception?
I don't think so, because they don't give you a touchdown pass when you throw it. They just sometimes they'll make a note that says like 2-point conversion score or something.
Do they give you a completion?
No.
That's bizarre.
They don't give you a completion. What? They don't give you a reception. They just will make note that you caught a 2-point conversion. It's stupid, but that's like.
Mail your complaints to 101 Park Avenue, New York, New York.
I will.
Care of Roger Goodell.
Nonsense.
I mean, and this is kind of where we're going here. This comment, the team is rallying around Joe Flacco. You can't quantify things like that.
Yeah.
The team has bought in the team's bought in all year. Like that's very, very evident. The team has bought in all year, and that is why they are where they're at, in my mind. Is they're living what Stefanski preaches, what Jim Schwartz preaches, what Bubba Ventrone, because that special teams unit is very good.
Yep.
Give some props to Pierre Strong, who is turning into a very good gunner. One of the better gunners. I really like what he's playing. He missed one of the tackles early on Bajorquez's 75-yard punt or whatever it is. And which is still insane. Me and Casey were live streaming during the game, and we're like, yeah, punt from your own end zone and almost kick a touchback. Why not? Just boot. He just uncorks it. Just has a rifle for a left leg. But one thing he did do is he slowed him up, and then later on made another play. And it's just he's getting down there. He's using that explosiveness we've seen when he does run the ball, and he's really taking advantage of the opportunities he is getting. He's not getting enough in the backfield, and I think there's reasons for that. But he's turning into a really, really good gunner. So I really wanted to make sure I gave him props. But yeah, man, I like what you're saying, Rocky. You can't quantify things like that. It's why this team, despite having a list of injured players, as long as I was going to say, anyway, I don't think this is is this a chill? I was going to make a wiener joke there. But then it would have had to be a very short.
About the kids, Jacob.
Well, it would have had to been a short list, and that doesn't make any sense because it's not short.
It's not a short list.
That's why they just keep going out there. Stefanski, Schwartz, Ventrone, Flacco, whoever it is, they're all buying into the messages that are being coached and preached, and that's where I think it's at.
Well, there's some really nice things happening too because of Joe Flacco. All of a sudden, Elijah Moore's a weekly contributor. You're starting to really see that blossoming into something. And you brought up David Njoku earlier, and you've been wearing the Angry David Njoku Runs shirt. We got another one. He took one of his hands and he just pushed that defender out of the way to get a first down. It looked
so easy. He was just
went whoop. It's just every time David and I need to gush about this for a minute because we have been talking about the athletic freak and all the potential that David Njoku could have, and there was all that pushback when they re-signed and extended him, right? Because they're like, well, what has David Njoku produced and blah blah blah. Well, now you're starting to see it. All of a sudden, you've got Joe Flacco in there, and even really before that, but they're just finding ways when David gets going. When he has the chance to take 3 steps and get a little bit of momentum, I don't know who's bringing that dude down. I just don't when he was going to when he scored, I think his first touchdown. it was like he starts getting some momentum, and it's like he is too big to be that fast. And when he's got that head of steam, it's crazy. It's amazing to me that he does. And it's so nice. This was his first 2-touchdown game, right? And he had the dropsies earlier. Just to see him battle back from that and be the Browns' leading receiver on Sunday and really be a difference maker. There are some real, despite all these injuries, there's some really nice pieces, right? Like you're looking beyond Amari Cooper, and all of a sudden you're saying, hey, Elijah Moore's here. David Bell just scored his first touchdown. David Njoku's been unlocked. In my opinion, there's a lot that's happening here. That's for as much of the injuries that are pulling you down, the offense is suddenly starting to lift you up.
Good for
the public. Let me give a public service announcement for people who don't understand. You don't give a guy a contract for what he's done. You give him a contract for what he's going to do.
Yeah.
And who amongst you are mad right now that David Njoku is under contract? That dude is a difference maker.
Yep.
Crickets.
He was leading all tight ends in yards after catch before Sunday. Like he's ahead by at least 100 yards now. Like
that's crazy.
He's a weapon, and we have been waiting for a while to see this, but this is exactly what this is the idea. This is what a guy that you can jump off an easy pass to, and if one guy doesn't play their cards right, he can take that to the house. I mean, he's like you said, who's bringing that dude down just one-on-one? You're taking angles, and you're trying to tackle from behind. You're not going head up with that guy, and it's to your guys' point. The guys that were supposed to be difference makers, that were supposed to be special. You're seeing it now. You're seeing that Elijah Moore can be a difference maker. Like, dude, David Bell. Like, did any of you have that on your bingo card? Like,
no.
Dude just caught it, turned upfield. I mean, I don't know if anyone was happier than David Bell.
No,
you could see the look on his face.
You can see it in the TV copy.
Yeah, good for him, dude. That was a feel good moment, And there's other weapons on this team. There's Joe divvies the ball up. It isn't going all in one direction. Now there might come a time where it has to. There might come a time where some people get locked out, and he's going to have to just go at Amari because Amari's going to be able to manufacture space or whatever. But when things are even, that ball is getting distributed everywhere, and it's what we've been waiting on, man. It's the reason you have all this talent, and that we thought was talent, but we couldn't prove it because we couldn't get a consistent quarterback to deliver the ball. Well, you're starting to see that now. You can actually judge the talent around them.
Well, now you're actually able to be like, everybody's like, we should have got more wide receivers. And now you're like, oh wait, there is talent in this room now that the quarterback doesn't suck.
Just a little piece of trivia. Amari Cooper's 125 yards away from his second 1,000-yard season with the Browns. Do you know the last Brown that had back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving seasons?
Okay, I feel like this might be a trick question, so I'm gonna talk it out. Talk it.
I'm here for you.
Braylon had the one, so I know it's not Braylon Edwards. It's not Josh because all of his good years were around years that had the suspensions.
I'm going to throw a hat in real quick.
Okay.
I think it's Webster Slaughter.
Ooh.
See, did you say receiver or just player?
Receiver.
I was going to say Ozzie Newsome. That was my guess.
I don't know if Ozzie ever got over 1,000.
That's the thing. Right? You got to go so far back that I was like not alive. Like
I know Odell and Jarvis both got it in 2019,
but they didn't do it again.
Right?
No, I read today that it has not happened. It never, not in the Browns history.
Not Paul Warfield,
never. Webster Slaughter had in 1990. Webster Slaughter had. So he had a little stretch. He had 906, 847, and 1236. So close, but
because Jarvis was close too. Jarvis had like an 800
too.
year, and yeah.
But it has not happened for the
which is a tremendous nugget. I'm stunned actually.
Jarvis came 24 yards from doing it. 24 yards from doing it.
Did you know that in 2 games. Joe Flacco has almost as many touchdowns as Kenny Pickett in 12.
Ooh, saw that graphic you tweeted there, bud.
Did know that.
Oh my God. Like it's like got like 600 likes. I didn't even put a caption on the damn thing. I just threw it out there. I was getting ready to go to bed and I was like, I'd send it to Nick so that he could say something about it the next day. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to send it out there. And I put it out there and it was like, whatever. So let's talk about, I want to talk about a couple of unsung heroes from Sunday. As we kind of look forward. First, I wanted to say, man, like I'm sick to my stomach about Mo Hurst. That dude battled his ass off to get on the field. He's been fantastic in what they asked. He's top 15 in defensive tackle pass rush win rate this year. Please, please, please come back. Please, Andrew Berry, Mo Hurst. It seems like he really liked playing here. So I think as long as the Browns have interest, it sounds like he probably has interest. So please make that happen. Like it would be, please make that happen if you can. Go ahead.
Miles, I'm talking to you. I know you watch. The next sack that you get, you have to rub your belly. Like it has to happen, man. It has to happen. Come on, man. Yeah, I'm gutted. I'm gutted for Mo having a great year as a rotational guy. Earned himself some money somewhere, even if it wasn't here. I'm always happy to see guys get success, especially when everyone writes you off. You know.
Yep.
And he was. Yeah, man. I'm gutted that he's not going to be finishing out the year, and the best thing we can hope for is a full recovery and that he's able to return and hopefully play for the Browns.
I hope Mo Hurst is a Brown next year. I just want to echo that sentiment, and I just. The stories like Mo Hurst are so much fun because we talked about him at length before the season, and he's said, you know, he just hasn't had the health in a while. But the last time he was fully healthy, he was really productive. So you saw him get back on track again, and that's such a feel good story because you know how hard these guys work to get there, and to see him break through again and be so successful with the Browns, and honestly, such a big part of the defensive tackle turnaround, which was the worst position group in the league last year. It was such a fun story. You feel for him, and I just hope that you know what, I hope Cleveland can continue to be a place where guys get an opportunity and can thrive. I love that piece to this story. So no matter where Mo Hurst goes, I'll be rooting for him.
So let's do this on offense. We'll start with offense, and I'll start with you, Casey. We'll go in reverse order. Casey, Nick, me. Let's start. Give kind of an unsung hero or someone that just impressed you on Sunday on the offensive side of the ball that maybe kind of surprised you a little bit.
My man, Nick Harris, man. Nick
You
Harris, just
bastard.
You shouldn't have gave it to me, Jacob.
I know.
When Pochich went down, like we know that Nick's a serviceable center. He was supposed to be our starter of the year before last, but we haven't seen him play center in 2 years, really, outside of the preseason, which I don't trust anymore. And he's been getting run as a fullback and making a really good show of it. And like that's something else too is Stefanski utilizes a lot of his bench players and like kind of keeps them like in the game.
Yeah,
you know, whether formationally bringing him in, and Nick Harris had been getting run, just not at his position. But when he stepped in, you didn't notice it all day.
Nope.
Yeah, I had no point that I think, man, we have a liability up front. None. You don't even notice it because he stepped in seamlessly and performed. And you know, we're still waiting on injury news from a couple players, and Pochich is one of them. Yep. But I do have full faith that if Nick Harris is called upon again, he'll be ready to step in. And, you know, I don't know if – I'm not going to say he's not a downgrade from how Ethan's been playing, but not a noticeable one to where you feel like it's going to hamper your ceiling in any way.
That depth's really getting tested. But I will say, you know what, when Nick Harris came in, I was like, okay, the Browns will still be all right. But for me, I think it's Jerome Ford. And the reason I say that is because nobody's looking at his rushing numbers and saying like, oh, wow, that's really impressive. But what doesn't show up in the stat sheet is how many times Jerome could have been tackled for a loss and just makes a guy miss or makes a subtle little move and turns what could have been a 3-yard loss into a 2-yard gain. Like, that's not sexy, but it's helping the Browns get in better situations with the chains, especially when the run game is struggling mightily. I think Jerome's got a long-term future in Cleveland. I just think he's got that subtle little bit where he makes guys miss and he just takes the yards when you give it to him. I've really liked the way that he's filled in for some very big shoes, and it's like the tandem between him and Kareem is I love that dynamic. But I just think Jerome has a little bit of subtlety to his game that doesn't get that appreciation, and I love watching him.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to Cedric Tillman, just because I think, though, everything that Cedric Tillman does may not be, I don't know, like, he's not out there with 70 or 80 receiving yards right now. He's more around that 30, 40 range in the last couple of games with Flacco, but I think he provides exactly what you saw him do at Tennessee, which is just a big, reliable target with strong hands. And Cedric Tillman can make people miss in the open field, and he can get you yards after catch, and he's a sneaky athlete down the sidelines vertically. But he just kind of is settling into his role the last couple of weeks. And I think even the last game started by DTR, I thought Cedric Tillman was making some progress, and the 2 games really. So I guess it's really been the last month or so. It just feels like he's getting more comfortable. He didn't look comfortable at the start of the season when he was playing. He just didn't. He was lining up wrong, and he didn't look. I think some lights are going on inside. Some switches are getting flicked to the on position. He's developing and getting some confidence, and it's like, hey, there's Cedric Tillman as an outlet valve, and he'll get you 5 or 6 yards, maybe get you 7 or 8 or 9, and he'll fight for it. I think he's a good, not great blocker, but he's getting there, and he's got the size and strength to be a very effective blocker. And I think, with Bill Callahan and Kevin Stefanski and Alex Van Pelt and those guys, I think they can get him where he needs to be. So I think Cedric Tillman kind of settling in his role deserves a little bit of props, because it doesn't completely show up in the stat sheet, but if you watch it on tape, you can see him getting open and playing his part. It's like, he's playing his part. So we'll go to the defensive side, and I'll start so that nobody steals it. Yeah, so nobody steals it.
I was going to.
I got the 2 undrafted free agents. One's a rookie, one's not. And DeAnthony Bell and Ronnie Hickman. Ronnie Hickman even more so. Ronnie Hickman played 76 snaps on Sunday. I don't know if you know that, because he wasn't a total liability in coverage. So you didn't see him all that much to really realize how much he had played. I knew he played. I didn't realize he played 76 snaps. And of course, you see it. He was single high safety almost the whole game. They played him as a single high safety a lot, and he was relatively good. I mean, he ends up getting a 68.5 coverage grade from PFF, graded out pretty good considering that was his first start, and he didn't know it until right before the game, because right before the game, after the inactives, all of a sudden Juan Thornhill was out, and it was like, hey, Ronnie Hickman, no Rodney McLeod, and then at a certain point, no Grant Delpit, and that's where DeAnthony Bell came in. And I thought DeAnthony Bell played really good too in his 23 snaps. But Hickman is just he's a guy that he goes undrafted. He had a really up and down career with Ohio State, and you just weren't really sure what was going on there. And then it's like, oh, you're going to lose this safety and this safety and this safety, and to watch an undrafted rookie step in, play 76 snaps, and play at a good level, he really deserves some kudos. And obviously still worried about the safety position, very worried about the safety position right now. But at least for one game, Ronnie Hickman was a serviceable player out there, and it was fun to watch.
It's crazy the way that they just the depth is being tested like no other. But
it's almost like Andrew Berry can build a team or something.
What? Can you imagine? Andrew Berry must be like, man, if I could just play some of the dudes that I didn't acquire through undrafted free agency, that would be pretty cool.
It'd be great if my like what is the number right now? I think it's like they have like $50 million in guaranteed money on IR right now, or some just astronomical number.
I just want to, you know what? I want to highlight freshly back off IR, and another one that I feel like might be in a line of corners is Cam Mitchell. Man, I think so. He was beat by Zay Jones, and he dove and he got just a little piece of shoulder on a route that Jones ended up turning up on the left sideline, and the timing was just off where I think Jones would have walked into the end zone if they had completed that. And I thought that was such a savvy move from him, because like even if you take the PI penalty, it's still better than Jones scoring a touchdown on that play. And he doesn't get called, and the Jaguars end up not scoring on that drive. And I love that subtlety from him. And I believe he was in on one of the really late breakups as the Jaguars were trying to rally. I just, you know what, he right back from IR, called into action. Denzel Ward's a late injury, and there he is, just being a contributor and a guy that you drafted, and you were like, well, we'll see what we get from him, and I like what I'm seeing.
Give me Shelby Harris.
Ooh,
I love Shelby Harris.
And Nick, you brought it up last year. This was literally the worst room in the league. And just the difference, just getting quality players in there has made, is because like you still got Dalvin, and Jordan Elliott's played way above expectations for me. But just to have a rotational guy like Shelby, they're going to miss Maurice. This Shelby's probably going to play a bigger role now. And dude, he's a difference maker. That dude is a difference maker, and they don't require him to play a ton of snaps, which I think is good, and I think it'll pay dividends down the line if you have to have those guys play longer. But Shelby Harris, man, like every time he just flashes for me. You won't even notice he's in, and the only time you'll notice is because he makes a play. Like, oh, yeah, Shelby Harris is out there making plays, tipping passes, getting pressure up the middle. He's quality signing, and is someone they got late that everyone kind of wrote off. That dude's been stellar, and just another reason why I think this defense that's going to be how far this team goes will be predicated on the defense, and most importantly, the defensive line. And to have a guy like that as a rotational piece it's invaluable.
Are you guys excited for Siaki Ika to more than likely make his debut?
No, he sucks.
I'm not convinced he's going to.
No?
They elevated Kamara.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would like to. Like, you want to see value out of these guys, but I don't know. That's just it. I wish I knew.
The thing about that is that he's what you lost was a pass rushing defensive tackle.
Yes.
I don't think you replace that with a dude that has no pass rush. He has no pass rush plan, no pass rush moves. Maybe he's better. I mean, like maybe he's gotten better and he's done some learning and some developing and stuff over the course of this year. But like Sam Kamara is a big edge rusher that they put inside a lot during the preseason. So that's what my guess would be.
I also have a feeling we're going to see 2 to 3 extra snaps from Za'Darius inside.
Ooh. Yeah,
I think we see a kick down.
And you got to see too what's up with Jordan Elliott, because he missed some time in that game. Nothing's been said about him, but it's one of those things, man. It's like nothing's been said. Like we don't know anything about Delpit. We don't know anything about Delpit. I think Ogbo and Za'Darius seem like they're okay, but we don't, and we don't know about Jordan Elliott, and there's somebody else. Who am I missing? Somebody else that I'm missing, but we don't know. Juan Thornhill probably, yeah, or Denzel. Like we weren't giving any kind of updates on those guys because they weren't put on IR.
I want to talk about a theory real quick. So you said Hickman looked good in single high. Do you think if he'd known all week that he was going to start, he'd been more nervous as opposed to just being thrust into it and having to rely on your instincts.
I mean,
because he didn't have time to dwell on it.
Yeah.
It was, you're like, because the night before could be a nervous wreck for a young player who knows he's going to get those opportunities, and he hadn't had them yet. Because after you do it, just like anything in life, you do it a few times and it becomes normal to you. But to not know at all and then just be thrust on into the situation and just have to swim with your instincts and do the best you can, like, it might have made for a better overall outcome.
I buy that. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I can't imagine, being thrust in that role had to be not fun. Well, you know what I mean? I obviously he wants to play, but like that's nuts it's very indicative of the way the Browns season has gone. That,
oh yeah.
Juan Thornhill re-aggravates the calf pregame or whatever. Who knows how, why. And here you go, Ronnie Hickman. Have fun.
Yeah, like I don't even know what happened with the Juan Thornhill thing, because like he got through warmups, because at least initially got through warmups because he wasn't on the 11:30, inactive list.
Yeah. I didn't know, Jacob. You told me as we got on the live stream.
Yeah,
you broke the news to me. I had no clue.
Yeah, I had just seen a tweet about
all the inactives.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you see the inactives, and then you're just like, all right, this is who you got for the game. Let's go out. Let's.
Yeah, I was wrapping my head around not having Denzel. That's all I was tripping on.
This is the thing too that when I look at the DeJuan Jones thing is huge. I will say though, one thing I do like about James Hudson is what he does in the run game. He is kind of a nasty, he struggled a little bit in this game, but I think he's got a nasty streak about him as a run blocker. I don't love him as a pass protector. I will see what happens with that and that thing. But a lot of your biggest players that are hurt, that have gotten hurt recently, are at least possibilities to come back. Like you lose Mo Hurst, but you could get Denzel back. You know what I mean? Like I still think where you're at is there are some good players that have been missing some time that could realistically play. Him and Juan Thornhill come to mind immediately. It's like, it's like, okay, yeah, you lose a little bit of the pass rush, but you could get your best coverage guy back, which would help the pass rush. And Mercer's, it's just like, Mo Hurst is like, he's just a situational rusher player anyway. He's not, getting all these snaps, but it's like some of these guys that you're losing, you can kind of tread some of this water just because you have some really good players that could come back. Like Grant Delpit, we don't know what's going on there, but you could get Juan Thornhill back and you could get Denzel Ward back. And it's like, I don't know, wrap them in bubble wrap until we get to Sunday. And just like, never.
I want to say, I think we saw the value of Grant Delpit immediately, because the biggest thing I was terrified against with Jacksonville is Grant Delpit goes out, right? And Trevor Lawrence immediately picks on DeAnthony Bell and throws it to Evan Ingram. And I'm like, oh shit, this is where Evan breaks out, because the Browns have been really good against tight ends all year. And I think Grant Delpit's a huge part of that. So which I need to bitch about this for a second. How do two players get injured running into Myles Garrett? Yes, it's Sunday. How is that a thing? What voodoo nonsense is that? Like, and so what is? I have never in my life heard a candidate for IR or what? That's where I just pain. I hope Grant Delpit's okay. Although I was listening to our friends at the OBR and they were talking about Duron Harmon quite a bit, and it looks like that's the way they'll go. With safety and Duron, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert about it, but I know he's played solidly in a couple different spots. So if that's the way you need to go, it seems like that's at least a reasonable answer.
He's a pretty close equivalent to Rodney McLeod in my estimation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was about to say. Yeah. He can do a lot of the things that McLeod can do. So in terms of you're going to miss what you miss with Delpit if he's out, but you can at least get a guy that can move around like McLeod could. Because, McLeod played all over the place, which really helped them free up things with Juan Thornhill to play deep and move Delpit around and really be able to go into their bag of creativity with these, Andrew Berry. Andrew Berry loves the people with, what's the word? Versatility. There it goes. I was going to say diversity, and I'm like, not that word. That word is not the word.
That wouldn't be incorrect, though. That wouldn't be incorrect. It wouldn't be as correct as versatility.
Yeah, technically.
I think it came down between Harmon and McLeod this offseason, and just McLeod's previous experience with Jim Schwartz got him over the top and got him into camp.
One positive note. I've just got a lot of random little tidbits here. Positive note I know is the Browns played their most zone of the year against Jacksonville, and they had really struggled with that previously. And so you can tell that Jim Schwartz is trying to adapt and be more varied defensively and not be predictable. And I think that was some of the knock on him previously, is that he hadn't adapted as much. And you can see that the Browns are working on different schemes and working on ways to be a better unit overall. And that definitely feels like an encouraging sign to me.
Yeah,
I think it's a big part that he's dealing with not having Denzel Ward. Not wanting to get Greg singled up in man coverage and just kind of taking some of that responsibility off. And I don't think that you'll see those kind of zone percentages when Denzel's on the field, because it doesn't suit his skill set. And when they blow coverages, it's often Denzel Ward not following assignments on zones.
Yeah, because he wants to follow he wants to follow the guy that's right in front of him. It's just how he's wired. It's the player that he is, and he wants to go after it. It's like, oh shit, I'm not supposed to go that way.
For Greg Newsome to have a bounce back game, that was really encouraging to me too, because I still got the Denver game where they just picked on him all day in my head, and seeing him play better and seeing, obviously Emerson and Newsome both where I saw there was a PFF graphic that I saw earlier, and I can't remember for the life of me how they graded out, but I know it was really high. So it's like that's the other side of it, right? Is Jacob, you alluded to it, that the Browns could get Denzel Ward back. Maybe you'll get Juan Thornhill back. And all of a sudden you're like, maybe this defense is maybe you're just going to ride the defense. Maybe that's just where it's going to go. And you're going to ride defense and Joe Flacco. And if that's the Browns situation right now, I feel like they win on Sunday. What say you?
Well, I think they win on Sunday. I think you go out there and you just – Kevin Stefanski said it. That wasn't a playoff game, but it felt like a playoff game. That's our season the rest of the way out. He said, that's our season the rest of the way out. And I think that's plain and simple.
Yeah. This is one you need. This is a must win, because this is the one. There's no easy games in the NFL, and anything could happen. We just seen the Bears beat the Lions. Can't roll your helmet out there and just expect to win. But this is a game you have to win. You have it at home. You're a more talented team. Handle your business. You got to handle that. That's, for me, that's the message. Handle your business. Put blinders on. You can't worry about what happens with any other team. But if you handle your business, you're playing deep into January. Point blank bottom line. So, this is a Bears team. They do provide problems. Mobile quarterbacks have provided problems. Yeah. And I could keep coming back to a play in the Bears and Detroit game. I just started getting into the Bears this week. Aiden Hutchinson knifed inside, got out of his lane. The second Fields saw that, as soon as he vacated the space, Fields took that space, turned a corner, and took it for 6. He's that type of athlete. Play disciplined. If you're undisciplined, he'll make you pay. If God forbid this kid was in an actual system, because I think all the talent's there. But when you're watching him play, I feel like he's handcuffed by the system that he's in. He's a playmaker, man, and they have to control him. Now, you gentlemen were there the last time they played.
I was going to bring that up. The whole the grand total of 1 net passing yard the Browns allowed, which was quite it. I believe Myles Garrett also set the franchise sack record. That
3.5.
I think he had 3.5 or 4. I don't remember. It was one or the
He
other.
had 4, and they took half from him, gave half to JOK.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I believe
Yeah,
that's how
that's
that
how-
went. He ended up with 3.5.
That's
Yeah, it's not going to be that easy. That's what I was going to get to. It's not
Okay.
going to be that game. All that would be beautiful, man. But here's what you guys can all rest assured: me and Jacob are on the call.
Again?
Yeah,
Let's go. Undefeated, right?
undefeated 4-0. 4-0.
going to 5.
Let's make it 5.
And it's Mark
going
Sanchez
to-
calling this game, so go listen
So
to us.
don't do that to yourself. Come to us.
Absolutely.
Come
not.
to us.
Real
No sports
quick,
fans, come to us.
real quick before we go, we're gonna do a new segment to close out these shows. We're gonna talk about what we're watching on TV right now. So, well, it can be one of the shows, both of the shows, whatever you want to talk about, whatever show you are currently watching right now on TV. Nick, what say you?
I'm taking a stroll down memory lane, and I started Archer from the beginning.
Oh,
Okay.
And I'm in the midst of season 5 now. I'm probably like a month into this. And I'm having a blast, man. I love all the zany adventures. Like I recently rewatched Rick and Morty for like I don't rewatch much of anything. I guess maybe I'm entering a new era. But anyway, I rewatched Rick and Morty again, and I just crave the adventure. And Archer does that for me. So I will be binging it until there is no more Archer to watch.
strong choice, my man.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. You're up.
So it's week 1, new segment, and I'm going to break the rules right off the rip. I have a thing. I do not watch shows during football season. I don't have time. If I'm staring at a screen that's got football on it, I don't take in new. I had to hurry up and get Peaky Blinders in before everything got crazy. Batman, Court of Owls. I read comic books because I'm a scholar. So Batman, Court of Owls, and City of Owls. That's the 2 that I've read recently. Excellent story. Basically, there's a secret society of people that have like orchestrated Gotham since the beginning, and even like Batman's ancestors that built the city, they killed them off. They didn't kill Bruce's parents. Tom and Martha died because they walked down the wrong alley. That had nothing to do with them. But they pulled all these strings, and Batman's just piecing it all together. And then they actually like kidnap Batman, and they put him in this underground thing, and there's like a maze. Dude, it is insanity invoking just reading it. Like this new Batman that Pattinson played 2 years ago now, if they wanted to do this in a movie, it would work perfect in that universe, that specific universe. So
Yeah, because it's the right kind of dark and
yes, very
cool. Because I've done some of the New 52 Court of Owls in the Nightwing comics, because at least in that version of the Court of Owls, I don't know if it's the same version that you're watching or reading or whatever, but like Nightwing was the first one to find them in the New 52 version of the story. Now it was Batman that really took them on, but Nightwing did. I can't see
New
that.
52.
Yeah.
So so at least when Nightwing was bred to be a Talon, he didn't even know it. So
Yeah. Okay, so it's the same one. Got it. Okay.
Yep.
I was gonna say that one's really cool. I have some comics. I've been doing some manga and some things that I've been doing, and I'll get back to it. But I just finished this show on Netflix called Obliterated, and it is, I believe, the greatest show that I have seen in a long time. It is absolutely ludicrous. It starts out, I think the cast is really good. Please do not watch this around children. There is a lot of boobs, butts, and male genitalia. A lot of male genitalia. Like there's a lot of that. Like, and some guy poops his pants, and I mean he poops his pants. So
you're trying to sell me, my man. You're going the wrong way.
It's great. So like it starts out, they're like this. They're a CIA co-op team. You know, they're led by a CIA agent and then an elite task force, and there is a nuke in Las Vegas. So they got to get this nuke and they got to deactivate it. So they're there. They've been there for a couple of months. They find the nuke. They got the nuke. They got their bomb tech. He defuses the nuke. Okay. So now they're like, oh, well, we're going to disband the team, right? We're disbanding the team. There's no more missions. Send everybody home. And one guy says, well, screw this. You know what? We're in Vegas. Let's party like it's Vegas. So they do a lot of drugs. They do a lot of drugs. They drink a lot of alcohol. And then at about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, they find out that the nuke they found was not the real nuke, and they have 7 hours to find the real one before Las Vegas is ground zero. And they are high on Molly, LSD, alcohol. So then the show is them trying to find the Russians that have the bomb, and there's an American group and a Russian group, so that's the hard part. It's like they've got to find the real nuke, and they are hallucinating. They are like, and I mean, it's got everything. It's funny as hell, and like there's a lot of really good action scenes, and then like I mean there's this one scene I'm like, man, this doesn't make any sense, and it turns out the whole thing was a hallucination. It never happened. Not the whole show, a scene, and yeah, so it's 8 episodes long, and it's on Netflix. Obliterated. It is, it's fantastic. So,
with
Sounds
that,
promising.
yeah, I just, you know what? I don't know what I'm missing. I guess I've been just watching stuff that just like I just passed. The next thing I know, I've passed out for 3 hours, and I'm like, oh, okay, here we are. So,
yeah.
but. We are going to continue to discuss these segments, and who knew? Maybe this is going to be a little nerd segment because I gotta get back on. I'm about halfway through Across the Spider-Verse 2 on Netflix. I gotta
Across the Spider-Verse. Yeah.
That's a great show.
But regardless, this has been episode 132 of the Barking Browns Show. Nick, that's Jacob. He's Casey. Go Browns.
Peace.